Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the March 25th, 2026 meeting of the Public Safety and Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee. I'm Alex Fernandez. I'm the chair of the committee. I'm joined by our vice chair, Commissioner Laura Dominguez. Thank you everyone who is joining us in the audience. I'm going to pass it over to staff to read the public comments into the record.
Good morning. Today's meeting will be a hybrid meeting with members of the committee being physically present at the commission chambers. Members of the public who wish to attend the meeting or provide public comment in person may appear at the commission chambers. Members of the public who want to participate or provide comment virtually during the meeting may join with the Zoom app or dialing 1-312-626-6799. And those are the only notes we have for today.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to open up the public opportunity to be heard. Our Sunday Citizens Forum that we've instituted, the Public Safety Committee. Members of the public wishing to speak are welcome to approach the podium. You'll be afforded 2 minutes to speak. I ask you to please state your name for the record and address the dais. Don't address any commissioner or committee member individually. And with that, if you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand on Zoom. And if you're in the audience, please feel free to approach the podium. Please approach the podium.
Before or during, if your item's called, I just didn't know.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There's an item on your agenda today.
Yes.
A small plumbed bird bath for Belle Isle. This is my 2-minute comment. At the Finance Committee meeting earlier this month, Ms. Dominguez remarked that this small project would, quote, impact thousands of people, unquote, and that she'd need to check with the Residents Association on Belle Isle.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you for a favor. Keep the comments directed to the dais. We don't mention commissioners by name.
Objections
Yes.
from board members? Okay, I'm
Yes.
sorry. So anyway,
Thank you.
Okay, so to gauge support for the bird bath, the Belle Isle Residents Association, they had a scandal last year and received $1.2 million from a developer for a zoning change at the Standard Hotel and increased FAR. Since then, its leadership has resigned and they were dragged before the Ethics Commission. I spent 12 years on the Bureau board on Belle Isle when it was under the leadership of Herb Frank and Scott Diffenderfer, 10 as the secretary. In the early 90s, I was on the PAC to rezone the north half of Belle Isle. I've served with Barbara Bisno on the Venetian Causeway. I worked on Cy Gelber's campaign. I've taken the Leadership Academy. I know Belle Isle very well. I've lived there 40 years. I went to the residents after the Finance Committee meeting 16 days ago. They strongly support the bird bath. In the 16 days, I've easily gathered 125 signatures in support. The only person who would not sign it is the new head of the Belle Isle Residents Association. He did not object, but he wouldn't sign the petition. They've never had a community meeting. They have no website. There's no way to contact them. So I question whether these unelected individuals could be spokespeople for Belle Isle. Please vote to approve the Little Bird Bath. And thank you, John Rebar, for our Parks Department. Belle Isle is ideally suited for this due to our lack of feral cats. I don't want it in another park. We condo dwellers want the same things that people with houses can have. The community gardens, the bird feeders, the bird baths. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak in person? Please approach the podium.
My name is Theo Caransalis. I'm chair of the Miami-Dade Commission on Disability Issues, and I also speak as someone who personally depends on accessible parking. I'm asking this committee and the administration to step up enforcement and adopt a zero-tolerance approach to disabled parking abuse. Disabled parking abuse in Miami Beach is real, recurring, and too often tolerated. Recently at Flamingo Park, an event crew parked a roughly 20-foot box truck in a marked disabled parking space and blocked the access aisle while unloading for a city event. They had no valid disabled placard, yet police chose not to issue a ticket. That should never happen. A disabled parking space is not a loading zone or a convenience space. A police sergeant's claim that someone was unloading or about to leave does not make the violation lawful. I have also searched for disabled street parking on Alton Road between 10th and 11th Streets, as well as around 1200 Michigan, and those spaces are often occupied by vehicles with no placards. Placard fraud is real. 2 years ago, Miami Beach Police called me to testify in a case involving a woman who sold upward of 500 disabled parking placards. If a visible disabled parking violation during a publicly announced high-impact enforcement period does not result in a citation, the message is that these laws are optional, but they're not optional for disabled people. Accessible parking is a civil rights issue. I urge this committee and the administration to adopt a zero-tolerance approach. Ticket vehicles with no placard, move them out, and when a placard is being used fraudulently, issue the criminal citation the law allows. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your advocacy, and we'll work on an item to bring forward to committee to work on this. I asked the administration and our city attorney's office to help me draft an item to refer so we can address this issue and potentially a referral to the Inspector General's office. Thank you so much. I see Julian Kerr on Zoom with his hand raised. Julian, good morning. Please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to speak. Good morning, Julian. I think we lost Julian. Rachel Siegel. Good morning, Rachel. Please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Okay, I can't,
Good morning.
hi, good morning. My name is Rachel Siegel, and I have an 8-pound dog, and I really go to the park. We used to go to the park, and a bunch of us with small dogs that weigh around 10 pounds, 12 pounds, would get together and play, because even though there's a dog park not too far away, there are large dogs there, and our little dogs are not allowed to play. Well, they're allowed to play, but they can't play because these big dogs are dominating the park. What we're asking for is not to just be allowed at the park at any time. We're asking to just be given some time in the morning when there is no one there between like 7 and 9 in the morning, so that our little guys have the same rights as the big dogs, which is to go out and play as much as they want. So there is a CAL, Small Dog Park, C4L dog park being discussed today at committee, and we really would like to. There's a whole bunch of us, and I have a bunch of signatures of people who feel the same way. Just let our dogs free. They have the right, even though they're little, they have just as much right as the 100-pound dogs that are running freely in the dog park. And when I first moved here, there was a small area that was leash free in the green, in what we call the green. So I would really appreciate if you guys would look at that and think of the little dogs that have just as much right to play and run as the big dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And just for the record, Rachel was speaking about item number 8 on the agenda. Any other members of the public attending in person wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to go back to Zoom. Mitch Novick, good morning. Please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Good morning, Mitch Novick. I'm for bird baths, a little dog park, and a big dog park or parks. Washington Avenue, I was expecting a substantive conversation yesterday. Seems like you guys are kicking the can down the road or up the road. It's in a deplorable state, and it's really embarrassing. I traverse Washington Avenue several times a day. You guys got to really focus in on giving incentives for that street to be redeveloped. Once that street should get redeveloped, it's going to filter off to Collins and Ocean Drive and the Flamingo Park area, and prosperity will once again emerge. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, Mitch was referring to an item of the Land Use Committee of which I am no longer the chair, so I am not able to control when the items are called in that committee. Alyssa, you have your hand raised on Zoom. Good morning. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, Elisa Berg. I'm just seconding Rachel Siegel's comment on the small dog park, and just wanted to clarify that we're looking for off-leash time on the grassy area on either side of Smith and Molinsky, not in the dog park itself. And anyway, we're asking for, like maybe early time in the morning to be able to be off leash. And I just am here to support that.
Thank you, and thank you for your participation. Please approach the podium.
Good morning. Hopefully I'll get a 30-second compliment. But 7 years ago, I came up here and encouraged our city to deploy our local fitness and sports instructors for the month of March, and it's paying off. The events are doing so wonderfully, and we're rebranding this city. It's super inspiring. I've lived here for 9 years. Sorry, Kevin Kruger. I've lived here for 9 years, and it's such an inspiring city. We're the fountain of youth. We're heading towards Blue Zone. The police, first responders have been amazing, of course, as they always have, and I think the community's really bonded well with them, and just compliments to the city and our residents and all the super producers doing these wonderful sports and fitness activations.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for being such a passionate advocate for our city and a visionary as well. Julian Kerr, good morning. You have your hand raised on Zoom. Please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to speak. And we're going to reset.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Julian Kerr, and I'm here on behalf of the Arts Coalition. We want to begin by thanking you for your time and for your work that you do for the city. Over the past weeks, we have organized as a coalition and have been actively engaging with the commissioners, city staff, and stakeholders, such as the Lincoln Road BID. And we want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us. Each member on this committee right now has taken the time to meet with us, and we really appreciate that. We're here today as partners, committed in helping strengthen and modernize the art vendor program. Our goal is simple: to help Miami Beach develop an art program that reflects the quality, structure, and cultural significance expected of a world-class international art city. While we're still waiting for referral from the Commission, we ask that this committee support placing the art vendor program on a future agenda so that we can begin to collaborate and have a comprehensive review process of the ordinance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julian. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Good morning. Please approach the podium. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Brenda Jordan. I'm a beach resident for over 30 years, and I'm part of the Artists Coalition. And I thank you for listening to us. I thank everyone who's involved in helping us, because as you know, we host Art Basel, which is one of the biggest arts events in the whole of the United States. And our program should reflect the beauty, the presence of the artists here on the beach. And with the ordinance that was put together, it was without any artist's input. So I respectfully ask everyone to change this ordinance where it reflects artist input, commission input, because we see a side that the city doesn't see, because we're actually working in the trenches. So I want this program to be a viable artist program for everyone, for the city that reflects the beauty and the diverse culture of our city. So I thank you for your help, and I ask that we guide each other, that it's beneficial for the city, and beneficial for us, and reflects our international community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda. And just for the record, I believe our Vice Mayor, Monica Mateo Salinas, had sponsored a referral at commission. I think it's still pending to be heard at commission so that then the item can be heard here at the committee level.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Please, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Janet Figueroa. I'm also one of the artist vendors that is left out because of the ordinance. I live out of Miami Beach, but even though I live out of Miami Beach, I've been an artist vendor here for 10 years, and I have managed to help a lot of our tourists when they come in and they ask us questions like, where's the trolley, where's the bus, where's the stores, where's the Ocean Drive, anything that they come up and ask us, even the bathroom. They ask us all these questions, and I have made it my business to be informed about your city for the 10 years that I've been here, and I have managed to be able to give them information, making the people feel comfortable and happy that there's someone out there to answer a question when they need it. Even if we are artist vendors and we're looking at our stuff and making our stuff sometimes on site, we still stop what we're doing and take out the time to talk to these people and give them direction. And it's also, the people are very happy about it because they say, thank you, you took out the time to let us know and give us direction. So it's very important that this program stays in our city because its economic growth will help also the city itself. People like the idea of being able to say, ma'am, could you please direct me to the Lincoln Road Mall? And I said, it's 2 blocks down. Or, ma'am, where is the City Hall? Or where is the Apple Store? Where is Ocean Drive? All of these, because we have this knowledge that we've been around this city for so long, because our spots are in so many different locations, we are able to pick up all this information. We absorbed all this information and we could pass it forward. And we do this for free. We don't ask any money from the city to do this.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for participating in today's meeting. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak on items on the agenda or not on the agenda? Seeing none approaching the podium in person and no one with their hands raised on Zoom, I'm going to close the public opportunity to be heard. And with that, I'm going to move on to our reports and updates. I'm going to suggest that we adopt these reports and updates unless Commissioner Dominguez, unless there's an update that you want to separate for discussion.
Number 2, I do want to hear the vehicle noise, the car noise.
No, I mean the, on the reports and updates on the agenda.
Oh, I was in old business, sorry. Let's see, reports and updates. I met with Barbara, let me see. I met with Barbara Hulaniki on Monday, and I'm working with facilities and other departments, so we can defer that for next month. The Convention Center Hotel, I mean, my understanding is that the topping off is in July of this year, and
It
it
remains on track for completion on
late
26.
2027.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is here, I hate to have him be here.
Well, I want to run an
and
efficient meeting, and so if we are fine with the reports
Let's see.
provided by staff, we can simply make a motion
Okay,
to
so I
adopt.
want to hear about the pedestrian bridge.
Okay, so with that, we'll make a motion, would you proffer a motion to adopt reports number 1 and 2? Is that fine? Yes, all right. So we can show that done by acclamation, and with that, let's go to report number 3.
Good morning. I'm Maria Serna with the Office of Capital Improvements. We're here to provide a brief, to tell you where we are with FPNL on the pedestrian bridge.
Yes.
Sure. My name is Ariel Gutian. I'm the Division Director for CIP. We have met with FPNL recently in the last couple of weeks, especially this week, and they are scheduled to commence their trace. They're going to be running a tracer wire within the feeder line to have a better location, to get a better location of the feeder location. So they're going to be running that sometime either today or tomorrow. They're going to be performing that work. At the same time, they have already gotten their FDOT permit. They're working on their dewatering permit with Durham, and they're expected to be giving us an MOT permit for possible closures in the future when they do the exploratory digging after they receive their permitting. So that's their update.
So the FDOT permit is for the bridge structure itself, or is this for
the work,
drilling?
the exploratory digging that they're doing now.
For the
work they're doing.
exploratory
Correct.
digging,
That's
okay.
correct.
So just to be clear on the record, the FDOT permit that was received is for the exploratory digging, but the FDOT permit for the structure itself is still under review.
That is correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
just for clarity. And we're waiting on Durham to approve the dewatering permit.
The dewatering permit, that is correct.
Okay, have we been in touch with anyone at Durham, at the county, to have an estimate as to how long this process could go on for in the review and issuance of
Yeah, the
permit?
FPNL is working with the contractor to piggyback on their Durham permit or dewatering permit that they currently have. So they're trying to modify that permit with the contractor. So they've been in contact with them, have they? I don't know if they, we will have to find out, but I know they've been in contact with the contractor to modify their permit with Durham. So I will have to find out for you.
So we don't know how long this permit review, because the concern is that at times with Durham,
Mhm.
you know, like most regulatory agencies, these reviews can take a prolonged period of time.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, do we have any idea of how long this review could go on for?
That FPL's been handling that directly with Florida Civil, which is the dewatering contractor. We haven't been engaged in that process because it is FPL's process, but I can get that response to you and send it to you.
We'll find out.
That'd be great.
It's a modification, so it's not a full permit, so it should be less, but I can't speak for Durham.
Okay. Commissioner Dominguez.
That gives me the update that I'm looking for because I wanted to ensure that FPL was coming through because initially there was pushback.
Yeah, we had yes, they're continuing to have meetings with us, with staff. We had one yesterday, so we continue to have continued conversation with them.
Have they, is there anyone from their senior team, because I know we had concerns, Commissioner Dominguez, you know, raised your concerns at committee last meeting, about the delays. Has FPL assigned anyone to focus on this, to make sure that they understand the severity and the importance of this project?
Yes, they have. They have their transmission engineer, who's in charge of this activity to make sure, you know, to find the feeder lines. So yes, they have assigned a senior engineer to this task.
Okay. Alice, good morning. Good morning. I see you approaching the podium. You're welcome to speak.
We're working with FPNL and they devised this plan for an exploration. But just be aware that exploration is about 150 feet away from the place where the foundations have to go in. So it's going to give them some information as to whether it's a single line or multiple lines. But they're going to excavate at a depth of maybe 20 feet, and it's 150 feet away. So it's still not going to be completely clear where the lines are at the place where the foundations need to be built.
Okay, great. Thank you. With that, we'll set the report and we'll hear these three reports again next month. Thank you. Stephanie, let's call item number 1.
Item number 1 is discuss directing the city administration to develop a program to implement an annual flat fee resident parking permit for on-street parking and lot parking in non-residential zones. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning. This is an item I placed on the agenda to propose an initiative to develop a program for an annual flat fee resident parking program for on-street and lot parking in non-residential zones. And this is, a program that I want to propose for the convenience of our residents. I know that over time, perhaps there has been some misinformation or some misunderstanding on the intent of the program and the framework. And I'd like to ask PJ if you have the presentation about on this item so that we can present this. This is a simple idea to improve the experience that every Miami Beach resident has as they go about their daily activities, their errands, taking their kids to school, going to the coffee shop, getting their hair done. It's about making everyday life in Miami Beach a little bit easier for our residents in a way that is thoughtful and balanced and fiscally responsible. PJ, we can go to the next slide. So right now, in most cases, residents can actually find parking pretty easily. That's not the primary issue. The issue is what happens after our residents find parking. And today, using that space, that public parking space, requires our residents to open an app. They don't have an account to create the account. They have an account to log into the account, to remember their password, to start the session, to put in their credit card information, and to manage that parking session as, they're getting their nails done and their nails are wet, and then there you see them, trying to, figure it out how to extend. Or sometimes my best example, I'm gonna roast on my aide, Kara. Say hi, Kara. Kara going to do her workouts in the morning with 2 or 3 bags and a jetty in her hand and a big set of keys, and it's impossible for you to be able to pull out your phone. That's you too, Stephanie. So this may seem small, but it adds inconvenience to the everyday life of our residents. And we could go to the next slide, PJ. And that inconvenience, shows up in real ways. As I was mentioning, people are carrying their groceries, they're managing their kids, they're getting caught up in the rain, and they're still needing to stop and pull out their phone and interact with the parking sessions. It's not necessarily intuitive, and it's not necessarily seamless. It's not it's not the best experience that we could give residents. It's an okay experience. It works in a lot of places, but I think we always want to be leading in making our city and our public services more convenient for the residents and the taxpayers of our city who we serve. And we can go to the next slide. And so, it doesn't stop once you've parked. Residents are constantly thinking about the clock on their app, needing to check their phones, extending the parking session, or interrupt what they're doing, whether it's a coffee meeting or whether it's getting a haircut or whether, is, doing an activity with their kids. They're rushing to avoid getting a ticket. And at that point, the system isn't necessarily serving the residents. The system is serving the system. And the residents are serving the system at that point, where residents need to interrupt what they're doing on a daily basis to stay on top of an app. And we can go to the next slide. And here are my everyday moments that I'm using as an example. And in each one of them, we're asking residents to stop what they're doing, not because they've done something wrong, but because the system, the bureaucracy requires them to have constant management. So whether you're the mom, you know, with your kids and a bunch of bags, trying to get through your daily life, or whether you're just some guy doing yoga on the beach and now you need to interrupt your Zen to open up your phone and extend your parking session, or whether you're someone getting your nails done in a salon and your nails are wet and you're having to, you know, fumble around with your phone and tap the screen with your wet nails. You know, this is what we're trying to fix. We can go to the next slide. So the core issue is that these are public parking spaces, and they should be simple, they should be intuitive, and more importantly, residents are not asking for more parking spaces. They're asking for better experience using the spaces that we have, and that means less friction, more convenience, less parking tickets, less tows. That is what our residents are asking for. And we can go to the next slide. So here's my proposal. My proposal is to create an optional $150 annual resident parking permit. Residents can park for up to 2 hours in public parking spaces without needing to open up an app, without needing to start a session, without needing to manage their time. They simply pull up, they park, and they go. This is about restoring the simplicity to something residents use every single day. The same way we give the same privilege we give us as elected officials, that we have a parking decal that we can just pull up into any parking space and we can park and go, and the same privilege we give to bureaucrats that they can just park and go, extending that same convenience to the residents who we serve, but having them pay the annual resident permit fee at the beginning of the year. We can go to the next slide. And so, I'm sorry. There was a public opportunity to be heard, and yeah, please, ma'am, thank you. So this is a targeted and a controlled pilot. It applies in non-residential zones. It would apply for 2 hours so that we maintain turnover. It would operate citywide during a pilot period, including during high demand periods. And in other words, we're not necessarily changing the fundamentals of a system, because we're still providing for a turnover while we improve how residents interact with the system. We could go to the next slide. And so now this is the important part, because obviously we have a responsibility to the finances of our city. So this must be financially responsible. And today our parking system generates approximately $20 million annually. Those $20 million annually that our parking enterprise generates, more than 90% of that revenue comes from non-residents. So that's very important. 90% of it comes from non-residents, from visitors, while residents, despite representing about 20% of the transactions, generate only about 6 to 7% of the revenue. And what this tells us is that residents are frequent users of the system, which is a good thing, but they are not necessarily the primary revenue drivers of our parking system. So the system, our parking system, is overwhelmingly funded by visitor demand, by the people who come to our city to spend money in our city. And so it makes sense. It makes sense that the visitors who come to spend money in our city are the ones who are the primary revenue drivers of our enterprise fund. And that gives us the ability to focus adjustments where revenues are generated while protecting the overall stability of the system and improving the resident experience. If we can go to the next slide. And so, taking a closer look at the numbers, approximately $18 to $19 million of our parking revenue is generated by non-residents. And so what I'm proposing is looking at a possibility of doing a modest adjustments for non-residents, for the visitors who are coming to our city to spend money, adjusting it from $4 to $5, representing a 25% adjustment applied to the primary revenue base. And even after accounting, for behavior changes, if we can go back to the previous slide, PJ. Even after accounting for behavioral changes, assuming people, because of the change of the parking rate, they stay slightly shorter or there's a drop in demand, we could conservatively expect additional revenues in the range of approximately $2 to $3 million annually, with this slight adjustment in the non-resident parking rate. Under more favorable conditions, we could maybe expect numbers could approach up to $4 million. And even in these more conservative scenarios, the system remains financially stable and would actually generate money for the enterprise fund. At the same time, the annual permit would create a predictable and a stable contribution for residents who would pay this annual fee, replacing what's a fragmented per use transaction fee to an annual stable fee that residents could pay at the beginning of the year. So I want to make it very clear, what I'm proposing here for the convenience of our residents is not something that is reducing revenue. It's actually improving how revenue is generated in a way that is more rational, more conscious of the convenience of our residents, is more balanced and more aligned with how residents actually use the system. And most importantly, this will be validated through a pilot program before we make it into a permanent program. And we can go to the next slide. And so when we're talking about, potentially raising the rates for non-residents, we're not stepping outside of the market here. When we see our neighbor directly to the north, a municipality like Surfside is already charging $5 an hour for non-residents. So this is not an outlier; it is an alignment with already a practice that our neighbor on the Barrier Island directly to the north is already doing. So we're simply applying that reality in a way that benefits the residents who we serve and who have placed their trust in us. And we can go to the next slide, PJ. So this creates, I believe, a more balanced system where visitors continue to help manage demand through pricing, which is appropriate in a high demand destination like ours here in Miami Beach. Residents get simplicity and predictability and convenience. And the city, why is this good for the city? Well, the city and the enterprise fund, the parking enterprise fund, maintains both revenues and operational efficiency. It's a better alignment of who uses the system and how the system is ultimately funded. And if we can go to the last slide. And so, at the end of the day, we're not giving anything away. We're not creating free parking, but we are improving a system that residents interact with every single day. We're making government work a little bit better, a little bit smarter, a little bit more human for our residents. It's simpler, it's fairer, and it's financially, I believe, responsible. And I look forward to working with our staff, with my colleagues, to refine this as hopefully we implement a pilot program and deliver something meaningful for our residents. And with that, I want to thank the parking director for entertaining this idea, and I pass it to you for your feedback.
Will McDonald, Director of Parking, City of Miami Beach. Commissioner, I appreciate the partnership that you've shown with the administration on this particular topic. I I will say I'm glad that you understand, and I know that sometimes I'm very passionate about managing the curb and managing demand through pricing. It's not something that is very well, I will say, considered within the municipality realm. Being a resident myself, I think that Miami Beach goes above and beyond for residents, and I will always continue to strive and advocate for that. However, I also, have the soft spot for looking at the system as a whole. I appreciate the opportunity to pilot this. I know there's that saying that sometimes pilots never go away, but what I can commit, if possible, I would prefer to keep it on the streets. We can have some discussions later. I understand we would need just a little bit of time to ramp this up to better come back to the committee or the commission to lay out how we would run the program. There would have to be some operational details, some technological solutions that we would have to solve behind the scenes. But we can do our best to make this happen, and I appreciate the thought process behind maintaining an A+ credit rating, because should the city decide to move forward with any bonds for new parking garages, it will allow us to build those parking garages in a much more financially efficient manner.
And thank you, Will. If we were to consider, again, my priority, and I think the priority of all of us as elected officials is, of course, the convenience of our residents. Of course, the financial well-being of the enterprise fund is clearly very important. But if we were to create this pilot program, create this annual Park and Go resident pass where they can just pay once at the beginning of the year and park at their convenience for up to 2 hours at legal non-residential pay for parking spaces. If we were to increase the non-resident parking rate from $4 to $5, what will be the impact of that to the system?
So obviously it would raise revenue. But I want to make it very clear that one of the reasons I left the private side to come to government is because I am not purely revenue focused. I believe in an ecosystem. And so the goal of this would be hopefully some of those individuals that previously would say, hey, I'm going to go park on the curb, would change their minds and go into a garage. Because the ultimate goal is us working hand in hand with our transportation department during truly high impact times. On the day-to-day basis, it's not really that big of a deal. People are still probably going to choose the curb, because if you're coming to Miami Beach, parking for 3 hours, $3 is not going to change that habit. But during high demand periods, we hope to reduce traffic congestion from circling for those non-residents. So therefore, if they say, hey, I can go to this garage I'm going to be at Miami Beach for 6 hours for an event rate of $16 or $20 versus $30, $40 at a higher event rate, then that's what I'm going to do. So there'll be the double benefit of there are going to be some people that say, I'll pay the curb no matter what, and there'll be other people that change habits because of pricing, like a lot of Americans are having to do today, and they will go ahead and choose to move to off-street facilities, which we absolutely love.
Yeah, and one of the enlightening things for me, which I didn't realize, is that in the revenues, when we look at the on-street parking revenues, those $20 million, only, 6 to 7% of it is resident generated. And so you're talking about less than $2 million is resident generated. And so if we look at the other 18%, the other 18 million, I'm sorry, and, raise that by a quarter, from $4 to $5, being able to generate $4 million potentially in a very conservative way, we're actually making more money than what the resident portion of the enterprise fund contributes, which I would imagine is good for the health and the rating of the system.
It is, and one of the things that I'd like to really focus on when it's still been less than a year, which I cannot believe, when I initially interviewed with the manager, the comment that stuck with me is that we're a world-class city and we need world-class facilities, and kind of putting it, you got to make that happen. And we are, obviously the new system that just went in that we're still kind of tweaking. We still got to put a few more cameras in certain places. The garages was kind of the first shoe to drop. I love the wrap that came out on Garage 7. So there's a lot of places in our system where we don't make, for example, I'll use our own City Hall garage. That garage does not exist to be a revenue maker. That garage exists to serve the employees that come to work at City Hall and the residents that come to do business and meet with their electeds or meet with department officials, et cetera. So we utilize money, we take money that's made here and put it over here to subsidize those operations. And so my goal is going to be, during my entire career here, is to continually improve the system, continually to have well-painted curbs, clean garages, well-painted garages. And so that revenue will always be helpful to ensure that when, I'll never lose the sight that parking is the first and last impression that somebody gets when they visit, whether it be a restaurant, a hotel, et cetera.
Oh, and hopefully that's a long career in the city because you're doing a great job. Commissioner Dominguez, you have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
I do. So this sounds like a great initiative for the residents. I think the price is right. It's less than $3 a week if you were to look at that, and it's a great convenience. And this was a long presentation, so if you already said it, my apologies. This would apply to meters only or to the city lots and the garages as well?
So it would not apply to garages because that is a different technology. I think there's some conversation that still needs to be had regarding lots and meters, and we can have that.
I would like us to consider lots as well. If during the wonderful thing about a pilot program is that we can always make adjustments.
And I have more questions.
Yeah, we can always make adjustments. I would like us to consider on-street parking and lots, clearly not include the garages. What I would do is the people who already pay that $70 a month fee in the garages, allow them, because we have about, 100 residents that use the garage? And
Just under 180.
Just under 100. So we have just under 100 residents that already pay $70 a month to park in the garage. Extend to them the courtesy of being able to participate in this pilot program.
And I don't know if I'd be a fan of raising the price of the parking to $5. Is that only for meters, or is that for meters, lots, and garages?
No, so that would only be for meters. Our lots and garages are still at
So then people
$2.
can still. The reason why I cringe a little with that is while growing up, people loved coming to the beach. And some of our closest customers are just over the bridge in the county. And they've stopped coming here the last 10 years because everything is so difficult, so expensive. I would like comparison of not just Surfside, but other municipalities. I quickly Googled Coral Gables, and their city lots are $4, their garages are $3.50, and their street parking is $3.50. So that's a dramatic change from here. While Surfside is similar to us in that they're a barrier island as well, they're very different from us. Hotels, who visits them, and all of that. So I'd love more examples of things, but I do appreciate that the rate increase would only be for the meters, so that if somebody's coming from another municipality in the county, they still can get a reasonable rate at $4 per hour in a lot or a city garage.
And I want to, one of the things, and in general, in its best practices in parking, to have your on-street be, I'll say, significantly higher. And when I talk about significantly, I'm not talking, like something insane during normal times. But for example, our lots and garages are only $2 an hour. So if, for example, we said, hey, we're going to go to lots and garages and on street at $4 an hour, no one would ever choose a garage or a parking lot. So having, for not only the health of the system, but having that price disparity difference between off-street and on-street parking is critical to not only the health of the fund, but also to traffic congestion. Because the minute that on-street becomes as convenient or as cheap as off-street, you now create a system where I will circle 18 times to find that one where I don't have to walk 2 blocks.
And I think to that point, and you raised very good points, Commissioner Dominguez, and they're very well received, to the point that if we consider on non-residents, on the visitors, to raising only the on-street parking rate, and keeping the garages the same, it drives now the visitors to use the more affordable, the less expensive parking, which is the garages, while keeping the on-street parking available for the residents who want to be able to, run into the coffee shop, who want to be able to run into the barber shop, who want to be able to run into a fresh market or wherever else. It drives the other consumers into the garage, because that's where the less expensive parking is at, and hopefully keeping the curb more available for our residents to be able to go about their daily activities.
So, oh, my apologies.
And how do we monitor that somebody stays there for 2 hours at a meter?
So that depends. So for example, in lots, we are starting to deploy camera systems. Right before I arrived, the commission had started a pilot with Paved Mobility to place cameras at the entrance and exits of every single lot. So we are able to electronically measure the minute somebody enters, the minute that somebody leaves. Parking is going to advocate for not only an extension of that pilot, but also an expansion, because it really allows us to take those PES, parking enforcement specialists, out of just checking plates inside of a random lot and going out and solving quality of life issues, i.e. the delivery challenges that are going, to continue in Miami Beach until we get all of the delivery companies on board. It allows us to redeploy those assets for more quality of life rather than just, did you pay at a random parking lot, on the beach or in this zone or in that zone.
So a parking enforcement specialist will monitor if somebody's at a spot for 2 hours?
Correct. So on street, I am advocating, which I will be bringing very soon as well, for the expansion of vehicle-mounted license plate recognition. Right now, the city only has 3 vehicles that are fully operational, and my anticipation is we need 15. And so the great thing about this technology, one, it's been widely used at every stop that I've had in my career, and it'll allow our parking enforcement specialists to simply, for example, drive down Collins, and they will be scanning every single plate. The technology, if it, for example, this particular permit is, hey, we understand that's a 2-hour resident, it will, what we call time grab it, it will time mark it in that zone, and then we will know if, for example, another PES drives by 2.5 hours from now, the vehicle's still there. They'll be able to handle the situation depending on how.
Well, that's a great way to monitor and make sure that people aren't staying there for a week. Right?
Correct.
Great job, Commissioner Fernandez. I'm supportive of this item. Let me know what needs to happen next.
And let me ask you, we also have certain areas in our city where we already have, like, for example, I know like Flamingo Drive. Flamingo Drive, I know we have in that residential area a limit of, I believe it's 2 hours parking. So we are already enforcing 2-hour parking throughout different areas of our city.
Correct. Time marking does exist. Essentially, all of South of Fifth is a 2-hour unpaid non-resident limit. And so that time marking absolutely does take place.
And we're enforcing that, I would imagine.
We are, and I can promise you if any vehicle sits there for very long, our parking dispatch will get a call from a resident or a business owner.
So I'd like to make a motion to send this back to committee with a 12-month pilot program commencing at the start of the fiscal year, so we have time to work on the implementation. So let's say a pilot program that commences October 1st of this year that would conclude on September 30th. And under the pilot, residents will be permitted to park for up to 2 hours on street and on lots in non-residential zones, and to have a review and an evaluation of the data collected to determine the feasibility of the program here at the Public Safety Committee in April of next year, so that we can see what changes we would have to make to the program. Sending it back to commission, I would propose $150 annual fee, because the whole idea is to make it accessible and consider including those who are already the less than 100 residents that are already paying the $70 for parking in the garage to include them as part of the pilot program. I leave it up to you, Will, if you want to add, a fee so that if they choose to, join this program, you can determine that. So if that's good with you, Commissioner Dominguez, I can't make the motion, but if you'd be willing.
I'll move it.
You move it, and I'll second it. Are there members of the public wishing to speak on this item? I know you had a comment, I'm sorry. Please, if comments are made from the podium.
Mr. Chairman, while she's walking up, the motion was for spaces and lots, but not garages. Is that?
That's correct.
I just wanted to ask a question. Is that inclusive of what people are paying for residential parking already, or is that a separate?
Separate. So there are zones in the city where residents park for their zones, and this would be separate. This is not for the residential zones. These are for the commercial areas of our city where you have on-street pay by phone parking.
Okay, good.
Yes.
One of the clarifications, if I could. First, I think one of the things that we've been able to do during the spring break, and we're going to have some amazing data to show how our whole goal for the on-street pricing, for example, during the high demand period during spring break, was to try to move individuals that were visiting into our garages, which our garages were the most economical parking that could be found during those high impact days in spring break. And what we have found is that we had less transactions on the curb compared to 2023, so we could maintain those curb space for residents who still pay the $1 an hour, as well as any individuals with placards, because obviously individuals with mobility issues, while you have a space in a garage, it doesn't make it convenient. So I'm absolutely excited to share that information and that study, and I just wanted to get some clarification. With the implementation of the pilot, would we be able to commence the increase at the same time?
Yeah, that would be my proposal. Let's work on the items
Yes,
so that when it goes to commission, we're all on the same page. Yes, I'm sorry, please approach the podium.
He knows me.
Yes.
I seen him when he first started. We got into it, no parking. But I always tell people, go to the parking lot. And he's starting to realize why it's better for them to go to the parking lot, because it causes less commotion, especially for the truck drivers that they in and out, because I was to be right in front of them. And I used to tell people, hit that parking lot, it's cheaper, and you'll be better off, you don't want to get towed. So they started to get into that idea, yeah, let me go to the parking lot, So it does help, and I think that you should have some type of, maybe a picture app or something, that when people visit here, they can know where the parking lots are, because they don't know.
Coming soon.
All right, so there was a motion, a second, seeing no other members of the public in person wishing to speak on this item, and seeing none on Zoom with their hands raised, we'll send this back to the commission. Thank you, Will, for your collaboration on this. We learn how to work together on these things over time. We learn from each other, and so I'm very excited about the committee's support for this item. Thank you, Commissioner Dominguez.
Thanks.
We have members of the public here for item number 6. I like usually to follow the order of the agenda, but I know one of the members of the public had to leave. And if we could introduce item number 6.
Item number 6 is a discussion of feasibility of a long-term license agreement with the Untitled Art Fair. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Dominguez.
Commissioner Dominguez, this is your item. You're welcome to present.
Thank you. So Untitled has been an art fair in our city for the last 14 years. They do set up on the beach. They have been a great partner, and they are looking to have a long-term agreement with us. The city has been hesitant because there is no long-term agreement on a beach property and they worry about other folks wanting the same thing. But my argument here is that they're not a new entity. They have a proven track record and they've been a great partner, and the city gets a lot out of it, both financially and the economic impact to the area. And there are representatives here to talk about Untitled.
This is, for me, it's a no-brainer. If you want to move the item, I'm happy to second it.
I'll move the item.
For a 5-year agreement,
Yes.
I'll second that item. Are there members of the public wishing to comment on the item?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, for the City Administration. I'm Robin Rosenbaum, here on behalf of Informa, and here with my colleague Christopher Pinellas. We have other members here as well that are here in support. We have Jeff Lawson, who is also the original founder of the Entitled Art Fair, and Bob Goodman, representing Art Basel, here to support and talk about the fair's contribution. So
You have
I
a
think-
motion and a second.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for supporting this great fair and the long-term future on the city of Miami Beach.
I know we always say we want to be selective about the events that we support and all that. I think when we talk about being selective, this is one of those that not only it's great culturally, but the economic impact, the amount of investment generated for the city, the annual hotel room stays, and the jobs created during Art Week is significant. And so when we say being selective, this is what we want when we say that we want to be a selective city. So I think we can show this adopted by acclamation. There's no other members here to speak. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dominguez. Colleagues, I'd like to call items 2, 3, and 4 together. Stephanie, if you could introduce us.
I will read all items into the record. Item number 2 is the monthly updates on efficiency of enhanced enforcement related to excessive vehicular noise, sponsored by Commissioner Dominguez. Item number 3 is discuss options to enhance enforcement of quality of life offenses such as excessive noise from the utilization of outdoor equipment and the smoking ban on the beaches, sponsored by Commissioner Bott and Commissioner Fernandez. Item number 4 is discuss potential city policy mitigating early morning noise from non-emergency city vehicles, sponsored by Commissioner Suarez.
Thank you. And so I wanted to call these items together because they relate to one of the most consistent concerns we hear from our residents, and that is noise and quality of life. You know, they may appear to be separate items on the agenda, but there is a commonality to all of them. They each represent a different source of noise impacting our neighborhoods, and more importantly, an opportunity to respond in a coordinated and thoughtful way on how we handle this. And when you take a step back, this really comes down to 3 categories. The category in item number 2 that Commissioner Dominguez has sponsored is the vehicle noise, where we've already taken great leadership through Commissioner Dominguez's role in this. The data shows that enforcement is working, particularly in key corridors like 5th Street, 41st Street, 71st Street, Collins Avenue. You know, we're seeing increases in enforcement. But we know that that's only the beginning in the change of behavior. Then there's item number 3 that Commissioner Bott and I have sponsored regarding the noise from outdoor equipment and quality of life activities, leaf blowers, chainsaws. And here we're seeing high levels of compliance, which tell us that the education, the proactive enforcement, and the clear expectations on the public are making a difference. But we also need to remain vigilant and I think ensure consistency, because we're still getting a lot of complaints about that. And then the third item on the agenda, item number 4, that Commissioner Suarez has brought forward about noise generated by our own city operations, by public services, particularly early morning activities like sanitation collection, the backup alarms that are beeping from trucks. This is where we have, I believe, us as a public entity, us to lead by example with our vehicles and those who do work for the city, making sure that we are the ones that are leading by example. But I appreciate the operational adjustments already being made, and I think there's more we can continue to do. So with that, I want to start off by recognizing Commissioner Dominguez to present on your item number 2, related to the vehicle noise and where you see we need to be moving forward with this.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I've worked with MBPD, and the residents initially came as complaints in the South of Fifth neighborhood, and also on Alton Road and West Avenue, and then a little bit in the condo corridor up on Collins in the 40s and 50s. And it's turned into the #1 hot topic. I get so many complaints about the car noise and motorcycle noise, and MBPD has met with residents and resident groups and increased enforcement, but we have to stay on top of it, and I'd love to hear more from the Assistant Chief.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Chief.
Mr. Chair. Assistant Chief Daniel Morgallo, on behalf of Chief Jones of the Miami Beach Police Department, thank you for allowing me to be here and present on this item. As the Commissioner alluded to, our officers are doing a tremendous job of being responsive to this community concern, this quality of life issue. I can give you the numbers, which are impressive. For all of 2025, we wrote 675 citations for noise-related violations from vehicles. From September of 25 through the end of February, we've already written 674. And just in 2026, we've written 513 citations specifically for noise-related violations. The overwhelming majority of those citations have been written in and around that Fifth Street corridor. I want to say upwards of 400 of those 513 have been written specifically in that corridor. So we're happy to report that our officers are being responsive. They're focusing on this, and we're taking advantage of the fact that crime is down to be able to focus more heavily on these quality of life issues.
Let me ask you something. So we're seeing significant increases in the citations over time, which is great. It really, I mean, because we're getting so many complaints, so I know our residents appreciate that. Particularly the spike earlier this year, we saw February of this year, 213 citations according to the memo on vehicle noise violations. Are we seeing this translate into behavioral change in those corridors, or are we seeing repeat offenders?
So last week at the commission meeting, it was requested that we look deeper into the citations being issued, and we're actually going through that process right now. So I don't have the data to be able to report to you specifically on repeat offenders. That's something that I'd like the opportunity to bring back next month after we have the chance to go deeper into the citations, because we're actually issuing Florida Uniform Traffic citations for those statute violations as opposed to civil citations or anything like that. So we need to take a little bit of a deeper dive just to see if there's repeat offenders there.
And so let's say that there were, I would venture to say that there probably are repeat offenders. What is our enforcement authority, Rob? Is there anything stricter when it comes to repeat offenders on these issues? Is there anything through municipal violations that we can do?
Well, your enforcement choices are limited to uniform traffic citations. You could do different types of code violations, but you would pick basically one or the other. You wouldn't do both.
Okay. And I would imagine, of course, the uniform traffic citation is the best alternative. And do we have a heat map, a corridor-specific breakdown that shows where the violations are most concentrated, so that, we can continue refining that deployment of resources? I know you said Fifth Street corridor, but do you have a more precise breakdown of where the violations are happening?
So The primary areas of focus were based on what the commission sent to us through the resolution. So that was specifically the Fifth Street corridor, the 41st Street corridor, Collins Avenue between 43rd to 63rd, and then along the 63rd Street corridor.
But I mean, but the violations, so we know that the commission asked you to target those areas, but of those areas, is there a breakdown that shows where the violations are more concentrated?
Yes.
Or most
So
concentrated?
the overwhelming majority is going to be in the Area 1, in South Beach area. And of the 513 citations issued this year, 397 have been specifically on midnight shift and in that South Beach area.
Midnight shift in South Beach. And have you, I see that we have here, you know, Fifth Street, 41st Street, and Collins Avenue corridor, 71st Street, Alton Road. Are we looking at Alton Road at all or no?
We're looking at the entire city. So this, we
But you
blocked,
just told me that the enforcement specifically in these three targeted areas.
those are the targeted areas, but they're not limited to those areas. So we're prioritizing this as an enforcement priority for the organization. So anywhere we encounter this, officers are encouraged to take decisive action and enforce. Now, the specific areas that we're concentrating on based on the resolution and policy guidance from the elected officials has been those specific areas that I enumerated. But it's not limited to just those areas. This is something that we've focused on and we've asked our officers to focus on. So anywhere they encounter it, they're asked to take action.
Okay, Commissioner Suarez.
The city attorney answered my question, but so why can't we do two different citations at the same time? Why can't we give a uniform traffic ticket and another citation, a code violation, for example, or a civil infraction?
Municipal offense?
It's, I suppose I'd have to look into that and get back to you, but it's not,
Because I
it's
think
not
because
typical
if
to.
you know, talk about repeat offenders, I think if they get two different tickets, they're gonna be like, whoa, I never got this before. You know, they're getting, which means that it signals to them that we mean business when it comes to this. So I think it would be great if we can just layer on as much as we can to, you know, to these cars that just continue to make noise.
So I think for next month, you know, together with, you know, the information that the assistant chief is going to bring us on repeat offenders, perhaps the city attorney could include in the memorandum information as to what you are alluding to, Commissioner Suarez, the layering of violations, not just uniform traffic citations, but perhaps other types of municipal enforcement that we could layer on to drive home that message. You come here, you know, you're not just going to get a slap in the hand. You're going to, you know, it's going to be bad.
What is the fine, excuse me, through the chair, what is the fine for, on a uniform traffic ticket, a loud noise?
I don't know. Do you know that, Dan?
I'd have to look it up, but if my memory serves me properly, with the uniform traffic citation for this particular statute, the violator has the ability to make modifications to the vehicle, then go to court and show that they either removed the aftermarket exhaust system, and then what normally happens is that the tickets are dismissed. They're non-moving infractions.
But are they, what if I hired like a ticket clinic and I didn't want to deal with the muffler modification fix? Are they able to do that?
Yes.
So I can hire an attorney and then the attorney can just take it to court, no contest or?
Yes.
And then I don't actually have to fix my car?
In some cases, yes, that's correct.
See,
It would be up to the magistrate to decide if that.
You know, look, similar to what we did with spring break and the parking garages, not this year, but last year, where we made it $500. You know, I think if we just make a code violation $500 or something to that similar, and people see that, and they're going to be like, wow, you know, can we do that?
We can look into it. I think that you can, but I would want to.
And to build onto that, could we, for example, if someone is coming into our city with these adjusted mufflers and they're creating this problem, can we revoke parking privileges? Like, for example, if this is a residence, you might give them a pass the first time and give them a violation, but if it's a resident that, again, they're being a repeat offender, and with these adjusted mufflers and creating this noise, can we revoke, their zoned parking? If it's someone that doesn't live in the city, can we, not allow them to use our parking, our street parking? Because that's how then we can control these vehicles from coming into the city.
I would need to look into that as well.
Okay, so if you could include that in your analysis for next month and include it in the memo that's put in the agenda so we can all be properly briefed, that would be great. And I would appreciate that in addition to the repeat offenders and a heat map. It'll be great to see a heat map so that we get this enhanced data through the sponsor. That's good with you.
Are we talking about just number?
Yeah, well, we're, on number
Number
two.
two.
Yeah. You're good
Yes.
with it? Okay, great, awesome. All right, anything else on this item, Deputy Chief? Assistant
Sir,
Chief?
we'll be ready next month. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. So with that, I'm gonna, go into item number 3 that Commissioner Bott and I sponsored regarding the noise, the excessive noise from outdoor equipment. And I'd like to see, future reporting evolve from citation counts to outcomes. Are repeat violations being reduced by corridors? Are these residents who are engaging in these offenses? Are these landscapers? Hernan, do you have any of this information?
So, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Hernan Cardina for Code Compliance. So, as you can see from the statistics, we had over 1,300 inspections through February 28th, about 23 violations. But on Monday, March 23rd, Governor DeSantis signed the Florida Farm Bill, which now preempts municipalities and counties from enacting any laws that restrict gas-powered lawn equipment and from having any type of differentiations to distinguish what that is, such as the gas-powered chainsaws or the gas-powered leaf blowers. And the effective date for that is July 1st.
Okay. So what alternatives, Rob, have you been able to review that bill?
I have, yes, and the bill allows us, as we've discussed, to urge users to stay away from the gas-powered ones and to stick with the quieter electric power ones. But unfortunately, we have been preempted from mandating that.
And so, like, for example, condominium associations and commercial properties that they have big contracts at times, we can urge them, we can ask them, hey, listen, you have these big landscaping companies that come in and do work, we can ask them to consider doing that?
Yeah, you can urge anything you want. You could also, have incentives if you wanted. I don't know to what extent, how valuable the ability to have electric rather than gas, but you could offer some money to companies who are willing to use the one that you want or something along a similar vein. So you can urge and you can incentivize.
So let me ask you this, based on the data that you have, Hernan, where are the violations coming from? Are these residents? Are these commercial properties? Are these condominiums? Are these multifamily buildings? What intelligence do you have about that?
It's mostly residential, yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's mostly residential.
It's mostly
Yeah.
residential. Okay, do we have a breakdown of those numbers?
No, I can get that for you.
Okay, yeah, we could include that on the memo for next month. That would be helpful. Colleagues, do you have any other comments on this item?
We can't prohibit gas blower. Can we regulate the size? For example, it doesn't have to be like a super max power size. I don't know if it's done by CCs.
No, the bill completely preempts us from regulating gas-powered equipment like this.
Let me ask a question. Are we primarily, when we've been issuing these violations, are they complaint-driven, or was this our proactive enforcement identifying these violations in areas we know that the issues persist?
It's been both.
Okay, but what's the breakdown? I mean, that's very superficial, so I need substance.
Well, substantively, all of our code violations, including gas-powered equipment, we're at about 88% proactive, and then the balance would be complaint-driven. So I would have to look at the breakdown for just this gas
Okay.
leak blower and gas.
Yeah, that would
Chainsaw.
be, I think that would be helpful in knowing what our approach would be moving forward.
Very good, sir.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Tallahassee, for the preemption.
I know, that was Mark's.
That was Commissioner, the late Commissioner Samuelian's item. Okay, Commissioner Suarez, we have your item number 4 on the agenda about city-generated noise.
Yes, in fact, I get probably an email or a text message or a call from a couple North Beach residents that every morning they hear beep, 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 and it's either from city vehicles backing up or just sitting in place. And I mean, it's probably a nightmare for him waking up like that. And I wanted to see if staff has the ability to, somehow mitigate that noise. I know a lot of it's technically a safety feature, but through the chair, I'd like to see what staff has recommended to really mitigate that constant beeping sound from any of our vehicles.
Good morning, Rodney Knowles, the Assistant Director for the Public Works Department. In the initial referral, there were like 4 items that were listed as suggestions that staff can look into to address the situation. We immediately jumped on the 2 that we can turn around almost instantaneously, which were behavioral and procedural changes. There's no dollar amount associated to that, and that would be changing the scheduling when we're servicing particularly residential neighborhoods, so that we're not out before 8 a.m., which is when the noise ordinance on weekdays goes into effect. So we're starting later, and that the drivers understand that where feasible, no backups, no reverse, you're making U-turns as often as possible to cut down on that noise. That way, we're starting to address the situation, seeing if we have any additional complaints come in where we can get those low-hanging fruit. And if that's not making much of a dent in the complaints that we're receiving, then transition to the ones that have dollar amounts associated to that. But instead of making it about a dollar issue, we just decided to move on that and change as much as we could internally.
And you said there was that's just one of 4?
That was 2, the scheduling and the procedural internally for when staff are driving city vehicles and operating those, just being mindful of trying to, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's good and all, but what happens, in 2-3 years when there's a turnover and change, and, that policy somehow just gets forgotten? What's more of a physical thing that we can do to our vehicles to change that noise?
Okay. Regarding the procedural changes, we can memorialize those in the form of SOPs. With regard to physical changes to the vehicles themselves, that's something that I'd like to collaborate with fleet management and risk management, just to make sure that, yes, we're addressing the noise issue, but we're making sure that the general public is as safe as possible, because that's the main motivation for doing it in the first place, just to protect people and pets, and that we're being the best stewards we can.
Understood. Okay, so you don't have anything, is it possible? Can we remove the beeping sound from I know this sounds ridiculous, but, to people, this is, a big concern. But can we legally remove the beeping sound from the reverse of some of our vehicles?
Legally, we can remove them. Instead of a wholesale removal, my suggestion would be similar to how OSHA has certain requirements regarding vehicles with a rear obstruction. It is highly recommended that there is a backup alarm, that we look at our fleet internally and just see which vehicles have a smaller wheelbase, where if we remove those and we don't have any kind of rare obstructions, that we're being as safe as possible, but the larger vehicles, it remains. So it would be sort of a hybrid approach as opposed to a wholesale, just remove them altogether.
Okay, maybe the vehicles that are more prone to be in residential areas in the morning specifically.
And that's a conversation I'm more than happy to have with my colleagues. But there's nothing that, to answer your question more directly, directly mandates that it is a requirement. It's just us being proactive, trying to be safe.
So through the chair, let me ask the city attorney, again, I asked Rodney, he said we can we remove the beeping sound from our vehicles when they reverse?
Well, the city isn't governed by OSHA, but we do try and follow their guidance and other government agencies' guidance. I can imagine, I don't see risk management here, but I would highly anticipate that they would strongly object to removing those from our vehicles. There would be potential liability if one of those vehicles would back up and potentially hurt somebody, and we didn't have that on there because it is industry standard to
Let me
have
answer your
those.
question on that, because I've seen police cars that don't have that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I would imagine that's the biggest fleet that we have in the city.
I don't think it's, I'm not an expert on fleet management, but my observations have been that trucks and vans and things of that nature always have a backup beep. I was driving a Gator this weekend monitoring spring break, and every time I backed up, it beeped all over the place.
But that makes sense, because a Gator, you might take a Gator down a more pedestrianized area that you usually shouldn't be taking a vehicle. The problem that we have is that we're seeing the traffic of vehicles, street vehicles, on the beach walk, on the sands, and those type of vehicles should have the beeps, the ones that are on the beach walk and on the sand. But we should be limiting the types of vehicles in those areas to be like what you mentioned, like a Gator or a golf cart. We don't want vehicles in those areas, but to the extent that there will be a vehicle in those areas, it should be a vehicle like what you're mentioning, a Gator or a golf cart. But for the rest of the fleet that is just in regular traffic, I think what we should be looking at is, those are normal vehicles, just like any other vehicle that I use my personal vehicle to conduct official city business, to go to meetings and that type of stuff. I don't have a beep on my car.
Right, and the way I understand the original discussion item that Commissioner Suarez brought was early morning pickups. It sounded like garbage trucks is what they're talking about.
It could be garbage trucks, it could be, green space, it could be building department, it could be.
It's across the board.
Public Works, yeah, it's just.
I would anticipate that they're big trucks. I could be wrong, but
I'll tell you, our office has an SUV. The Office of the Mayor and Commission has a fleet vehicle that's shared by all the offices. That has a horrendous beeping sound when you back up, and I don't understand why just a regular SUV that is no different than any other SUV has to be retrofitted with this horrendous beeping sound that it just creates more noise pollution than what our city needs.
well, I think what you need is a discussion and perhaps some sort of study from the risk management department. We are self-insured, so we pay all of our claims out of the taxpayers' funds. And if we have beeps on something now.
How many claims have there been from backing up?
I couldn't tell you, but I would imagine that around the country and around the world there are.
In the city of Miami Beach.
There's no way I could tell you that.
I would venture to say there's probably zero. from backing up on a city vehicle. I mean, look, maybe we just kind of lower the volume down so that you don't have to hear it 3 blocks away. But where is facilities? John? Through the chair. So, these vehicles, do you have an issue with removing the beeping sound? Do you think it's going to be a safety risk, or is this something that we can do away with?
I would, sir, I would need to do some research because I believe this is risk-related, maybe even some other regulations. I'm just not prepared to give you a professional opinion off the cuff.
For next month.
I don't.
Oh, I could definitely reduce research by next month.
It's a little frustrating because this is on the agenda. This is a committee meeting, and you guys should be prepared. I mean, obviously, this is one thing this is an option that I explored, that I'd like to just remove this beeping sign. The fact that you guys don't know if you can remove it or not because of risk, this is something that you guys should have planned for.
Well, I'll tell you,
before this
Commissioner
meeting.
Suarez, I am changing the procedures of this committee. Because right now, items get placed on the agenda with your name on it, and with my name on it, and with the vice chair's name on it. And we don't get to see the items before they get placed on the agenda, but they carry our names on it. And I'm gonna be changing the procedures of this committee, how I do the agenda, so that after the city manager signs off on the item, it doesn't mean that your item now makes it onto the agenda because the city manager signed up on it. No, this is your item. You are the elected official. It should only make it onto the agenda once you, as the elected official, has seen how your item has been crafted and that you're okay with it. Because what ends up happening is that we end up with items that might be incomplete, doesn't have the information that you're looking for. So just so you know, just to address that, there's a memo we're working on with the city attorney that hopefully we'll be putting out later this week on how I'm gonna be handling the agenda, because you should see this memo and know, okay, is this complete enough what you're looking for?
Okay, yeah.
I did get him, I'll work with other departments. OSHA is also involved in these backup alarms.
Okay, yeah, look, I mean, this is, if I heard this early in the morning and it was outside my house, I'd be very upset.
Understood.
So would you, right? So would anyone else, who's driving the vehicles. So let's make it, let's see what solutions we can come up with.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So Rodney, on Belle Isle, I hear the beeping every morning at 7:30. And
Sucks.
I think they're going to the pump station and backing into that on Island Avenue East. But it is before 8 o'clock and it's Monday through Friday. So for commercial vehicles, I know that there's OSHA rules on why you need to have the beeping. If they have a camera, wouldn't that be enough?
I don't think the camera is enough to supersede that. The cameras are great when they do work, but it doesn't take much to obstruct the camera, be it bad weather or even debris. So I think that's why the cameras are nice, but they're supplemental and not seen as the primary means for safety. And some of the vendors that provide services to the city have their own internal SOPs that kind of dictate to their staff that when they do their walk-arounds with their vehicles, that's one of the things that's functioning before they start their route.
I see. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're gonna continue this item. We're gonna continue the 3 items till next month. Staff has feedback from all of us. As it relates, by the way, I'm gonna just make another comment on item number 3 on, if I could have staff's attention. Thank you.
Sorry.
As it relates to item number 3, about excessive noise for outdoor equipment, if we could look, I know that we have now the state preemption on the gas equipment, but perhaps, perhaps we can look at just general equipment, general landscaping equipment, and how far you can hear the noise. So, because at the end of the day, I understand why the policy was made about gas, because of the issues relating to the environmental impacts that gas equipments have. But the other issue is also the noise and the impact that it has on quality of life. So with these landscaping equipments, if we could study the possibility of regulating them based on distance that is being heard. You shouldn't be hearing someone's leaf blower 5 houses away. You know, you shouldn't be hearing it 100 feet away. I mean, I think that that technology is there where there are sufficient options for people to use technology that doesn't generate that excessive amount of noise. And if, Mr. Attorney, you could look at that, discuss it, and see if we can incorporate a briefing of that within the memo for the next meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. So with that, we can show these items continue to next month. Let's call item number 5.
Item number 5 is discuss take action regarding identifying a suitable and appropriate location to replant oak trees that will be removed during construction on First Street. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Dominguez.
Commissioner Dominguez, you're welcome to present your item.
Thank you. This is an item I picked up from Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez. And Rodney, I'll let you talk about the item.
Sure. Good morning again, Rodney Knowles, Assistant Director for the Public Works Department. An item before you is concerning the construction that's going to happen on First Street and what's going to happen with the existing oaks that are there. An assessment was done by a certified arborist in which all of the oaks have been evaluated and their condition has been officially recorded. Staff is evaluating what's happening with the oaks depending on their health and the logistics and costs for evaluating 3 options. One option being removal of all of the oaks, temporarily transplanting them to a donor site where they're established, maintained, and then transplanted back to the site once construction is about the end, when the landscaping is going in. The second option would be to transplant the oaks to another site permanently and install brand-new trees as large as we can possibly get them. And staff is estimating about 8-inch diameter with about 14 or 16-foot overall height as the second option. And the third being a combination of both, where the healthiest specimens are brought back to the site, to First Street, and wherever the other oaks that aren't surviving and doing as well, they're replaced with brand-new oaks, the largest size that we can possibly get. Right now, we have a consultant, KCI, that is doing a cost estimate for us for all 3 options. That cost estimate is due back to us by mid-April. So far, we've been exchanging correspondence with the consultant. They had some follow-up questions because there's things that they wanted to eliminate, some presumptions from their estimate. And we provided that information. So I apologize that we did not receive it as of today, but it's due back to us by mid-April.
Does the commission or the city and consultant make a decision on one of the 3 options?
It would be the commission.
All right, so is it okay to move it to commission? Will we have it by the next commission meeting or maybe in May?
We should have it in May.
Okay, so I move it to the May commission meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And let me just ask a question, because we
Yes, sir.
have the survey that's going on now. There's the shade survey that I believe goes through March 31st.
Yes.
Okay. Could we use these trees to help provide shade in areas where residents are asking for shade as, and according to the recommendations we might get from this survey?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioner Amy Knowles, Chief Resilience Officer. Bless you. So essentially, our Throw Some Shade campaign is open till March 31st. And I think that type of approach could be utilized for this situation. It's probably going to come down to timing.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. So our Throw Some Shade campaign is open until March 31st. It is a really exciting approach where we want people to tell us where they'd like to see trees on the swale in front of their homes. Something like this could be done for First Street. I think it depends on timing. It depends on construction. It depends on, when the trees could be properly root pruned and relocated. And would have to be, areas would have to be prepared to receive those trees, but something similar, could be employed.
When do we anticipate First Street starting? Or these trees being removed?
I don't have the date right now, but the root pruning would have to happen about 3 months prior to the removal.
Okay.
But we're talking about First Street, we should know, staff, when is First Street starting?
I believe that would be the engineering team.
Guys, I just need the administration to understand. We are here, you have 3 commissioners here having a committee meeting about First Street, about relocation of trees on First Street, knowing when this project starts, something very basic that we should have an answer for.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Suarez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, in this report, will it also give, and by the way, I'm in favor of keeping the trees because it's really hard to get beautiful trees mature enough. But I also want to know what the likelihood of success is, right? Did they give a probability of success for each tree, or do they do that as a whole?
They don't offer a probability because there are several factors that go into it. Of course, the health and age of the tree and the conditions which, in this case, they're going to be relocated to a second site, maintained, and then brought back. So how are they being maintained in between that?
Do you guys have do you guys have an idea of where that donor site might be?
There are several sites that we identified around the city. The golf course has given up a couple sites that we can use, and there are a couple areas around the city that.
But like the west lot?
That's an option. We've definitely looked into that. The only challenge with the west lots, of course, is logistics of transporting large trees throughout the city. It can be done, and that's one of our sites also.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go to the golf course, I mean, just it's an extra 10 minutes to get to North Beach during the day.
What I would like to see is, not everyone uses the golf course, So it'd be great to see what this survey tells us of where residents want trees. I would be very concerned about transplanting them and then retransplanting them back to First Street because I just think, I don't know that they would survive being transplanted twice in a very short period of time.
Correct.
If you had to say, and perhaps the Capitol team might be more familiar with this, given the amount of beautiful projects the team has done. How much would one of these mature trees cost if we would go to market to buy one of these mature trees? I would imagine, they must be, I hear some of these residential.
10,000.
Yeah, I believe you will be in thousands.
Thousands.
When you're talking about a big tree.
So these are, not just trees, they're beautiful investments that we have, that we should try to save them to the extent that we can. I think transplanting them twice, you probably are going to see a significant loss of trees if you plant them and then a few years later you move them again. Just a shock on the trees. But now you have these beautiful grown mature trees. If we could consider putting them in the residential areas where people have been asking for shade. Not just sometimes we'll go in and we'll put twigs that eventually grow, as David Martinez would say, the Charlie Brown trees, that eventually grow into something bigger. But here you already have them. It would be nice to consider where we could place them. So I support Commissioner Dominguez's motion to send this back to the commission so that you all can come to us with good
ideas of where to
with
plant.
good ideas. Exactly.
Just one off topic. Speaking of trees, the South Shore Community Center is going to get demolished. There's a couple actually beautiful palm trees there, and I think there's also a shade tree. I know this is at a committee meeting, but perhaps, I don't know, between a couple of us, that we can also relocate them somewhere because I mean it's really mature and beautiful. It would be a shame to just.
It was our intent to relocate those trees.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Where are you going to where?
I'm not sure right now if we have identified, the place where we are going to relocate them, but we will.
Okay.
But let's find areas where people live, where the
Absolutely.
residents live, where they're telling us, that they've been promised trees for years and they haven't gotten it because of budgets and delayed projects and all that.
No,
This
we-
is our opportunity to go into those areas. Our public spaces, like the West Lots or parks or golf courses, they're always gonna have trees, but I think close to where the people live, I think would be a beautiful thing to do.
And I think the program that Amy was talking about, I think that will be a great
Yeah.
way of identifying areas.
Commissioner, we don't have an exact start date, but it's scheduled to start in early '27.
Early 27. So we
Yes,
gotta
sir.
have, so the timing is important because we gotta start doing the pruning and everything relatively in the next, 6 months, I would imagine. Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Dominguez, thank you so much for picking up this item. I think anything that we can do to save mature trees is so important. And separately, we're working with the city attorney's office on a mature tree preservation ordinance. I have concerns of areas throughout our city where over time, mature trees that are healthy have been slated to be cut down, and we should be preserving these trees, even if they're not natives. Even if they're not natives, if they've been here for a long time and they've stood the test of time, we should be doing everything that we can to save them. So thank you for your leadership, Commissioner. All right, and with that, by acclamation, show that sent back to commission. Item number 6, we heard already, that was the item related to Untitled Art Fair. Let's go to item number 7.
Item number 7 is discuss temporary wayfinding signage during construction activities of the 41st Street Improvement Project. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Fernandez.
So yesterday, we had a presentation at the Land Use Committee.
Yes, you did.
Related to the 41st Street improvement projects. And talk about an incredible opportunity to revitalize the corridor, to bring economic revitalization to the area and bring back businesses. My fear is during the construction phase, local businesses may experience reduced visibility, reduced accessibility. And so, I want to know from our staff, what can we do to mitigate these impacts? What opportunities exist to install temporary wayfinding that direct residents or visitors to businesses and key destinations within the project area?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Maria Serna, CIP Assistant Director. So in recent city construction projects where we have a direct impact, with the adjacent commercial properties, we have implemented a few strategies. We have created some mesh screenings with project renderings and information that we have installed around our construction fence. The panels do include information about businesses being open, and we guide the pedestrians safely around the work areas. We have also created some banners, which we installed on the light poles to show also that businesses are open. As it was discussed yesterday on the 41st Street improvements, the work is, we are going to be implementing it on a block-by-block sequence, and we were intended to use a very, very similar strategy on 41st. And since the work is going to be moving, we were planning to reuse those panels, of course, subject to the approval. We are coordinating with the bid, with the Blue Ribbon panel, with our communications team, and of course, it will be subject to approval by FDOT. As you know, this is an FDOT
Have we
road.
shared with them the proposed designs for these light pole banners or the windscreens on the fences?
I don't believe we have shown specifically the renderings, but we will.
Okay, I would love to refer this to the mayor's 41st Street Blue Ribbon Committee and to the bid. Perhaps we can go there, share this item with them, get their feedback, and then we can bring it back to commission, to the committee.
Absolutely, we can do that.
All right, so let's do that. Let's go present to these two committees, get their feedback so that we can make sure that from the start, we understand, how we can best help them so they continue cooperating with us during the construction phase.
Absolutely, we can do that.
And we understand that construction always bring inconveniences, and the capital improvements office has been so courteous in fostering better communication between those affected by these projects and the project teams, so we can ameliorate and fix a lot of these challenges. And so I'm just very grateful to the entire team. I think that enhanced level of communication makes everything go so much smoother. So
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
I know for our residents, it means a lot.
Thank you.
So the motion is to encourage the administration to continue their discussions with the bid and the 41st Street Committee and come
Well, I
back.
don't think they've shared this yet with them, so let's go and present.
And then we'll bring it back
Yeah.
and tell you what the feedback was from the,
Right.
from the Blue
I'd
Ribbon.
love to join you when you go. So-
Absolutely, we'll let you know.
So let my office know, please.
Absolutely.
If you will.
Okay.
Yeah. All right?
Okay.
Great. Thank you. With that, I'm sorry, do you guys have any comments on that? No? All right. Item number 8.
Item number 8 is to discuss the potential creation of an early morning off-leash hours for small dogs at South Point Park. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Monica Mateo Salinas.
I know Vice Mayor Salinas was under the weather this morning. I don't know if she's on Zoom. We're happy to recognize the Vice Mayor if she's on Zoom and wishes to speak on her item. But I see we have John Rebar here, so John, if you want to present the item.
Sure. Good morning. So this item you heard during the comments this morning, some callers on this. This is a request of residents that use South Point Park. For a little history, we do have an off-leash area there. It's not a traditional dog park with fencing. It is just an area that's identified during certain hours for off-leash for both large and small dogs. There's a request to create a second area for small dogs only between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. daily, only for small dogs, and that is to be located near Smith and Walensky.
Just for those who are watching, where exactly? Is it in front of Smith and Walensky?
To the west of it, yeah.
And I'm assuming just east of that walk path.
Yes. Yeah, so you would be walking east from the off-leash area before you get to Smith. and
That's where
Walensky
we
area.
normally have it when the traditional dog park is under construction.
Correct, and I think that's how they came up with that location, because when we resawed the dog area, they moved over there. So this is, it's a policy decision. Really comes down to enforcement. If we were to identify this as an off-leash area, then I believe the rangers and code would allow it during that time.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor. I like it. I bring my dogs there all the time. I just want to make sure, we just passed an ordinance that increases the fines for off leash. So what happens if the dog kind of, gets off on the sidewalk? Is it technically in violation, or?
It's a slippery slope when you have these areas that aren't fenced in, like traditional dog parks. That's a contained area. These are off-leash areas that really puts the owner into having to control his or her pet, because it can go much further than just the sidewalk.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have two options for implementation on the agenda. There's option A, which is a signage-only strategy that costs $300, John?
Approximately.
Yeah, and that includes installation of signage designating the early morning off-leash area, and that can be implemented within 1 month. And so I would recommend that we start off with that, with option A, while we implement option B, which includes, other elements, the signage, the benches, the concrete pads, the waste, the bag dispensers, which are important, landscaping improvements so that it's landscaping that's tolerant to the impacts of the dogs. And that takes, from what it says here, 8 to 12 months to implement.
Yes, and we would need funding for that. The
Okay,
first
and-
one we do at operating funds, it's a few $100s.
Okay, but for the second part, option B is estimated at 15,000? That's
Yes.
what the item says? So what I would recommend to the committee is that let's send back a positive recommendation to the commission implementing option A while they implement option B. So that at least you get some signage up, which is nominal in cost, while we try to figure out how to implement the second part.
Just for clarification, is it option B? There's no funding in our current budget, so I believe that would become part of the FY '27 budget process,
Okay.
if that's what you want to recommend?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine, but in the meantime, we're starting
Option A.
with option A, which is very nominal. Commissioner Suarez.
I think also, you should also have a dog dispenser and trash can there. I mean,
We could handle the dog,
Right.
yes.
Not just a sign, but I think.
The bag dispenser under operating funds, yes.
The bag dispensers usually include trash can, don't they?
Yes.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't have to include
can.
it, but you often see them go hand in hand.
They always should. If we're giving them a dispenser for the bag,
The only reason that they don't sometimes is if it's next to a large trash can.
oh, that makes sense. All right, Commissioner Dominguez, any comments on this item?
I had, when I had the item for expanding the dog poop stations, I learned a lot about dog poop stations.
I want to thank Vice Mayor Matilde Salinas for taking this up because, again, these are simple things, just like the parking item earlier, but there are simple solutions for the convenience and the quality of life of our residents. This is small things that we can use our offices and our positions for to improve just the daily quality of life of our residents. So to the Vice Mayor, I know you can't be here because you're not feeling well, but thank you for this item, and I hope you feel better.
So the motion that was approved is to send it back to the city commission with a positive recommendation on option A and to consider option B as part of the FY '27 budget process.
Correct.
Got it.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And our last item for today is item number 9.
Item number 9 is discuss the installation of a plumbed bird bath water feature at Belle Isle Park. This item was sponsored by Commissioner Suarez.
All right, Commissioner Suarez, this is your item. You're welcome to introduce the item.
And I'm going to ask if it could be deferred, and I'll tell you why. I reached out to the Belle Isle Residents Association to make sure that they were aware. I spoke with Nikki, and with Gary Rugg's death, the board is restructuring, and they're bringing on a new president, and they weren't ready yet to dive into this because there's restructuring and in mourning.
I mean, that's reasonable. Commissioner Suarez, are you fine deferring this so they can participate?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't know Gary Rugg died.
Was that?
I didn't know Mr. Rugg died.
What?
I didn't know Gary Rugg passed away.
Oh, yeah.
His health declined a lot over the past
Yeah,
year.
it was awful.
He was under a lot of stress over the past year.
So when will we defer this to?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and our thoughts are with Wendy Rugg. They both have been such caring and loving people in our city, and it's really heartbreaking that Gary passed away. All right, with that, thank you, staff, for your hard work, for your collaboration, and to the members of the public who participated. This meeting is adjourned.